Right, 8 October 2024, and today I'm going to give you a quick update on all the trending news. We've got a very important remainder of this week. So this week is very significant in SADC because tomorrow we're going to have the Mozambican election. So the Mozambican election is going to be held, especially the presidential elections, will be closely watched. 4 candidates are taking part in that elections, and the most watched man is the Chamisa of Mozambique here, Venanzia Mondlane. Many people are going to be watching Venanzio Mondlane. He has really excited the youngsters in Mozambique, and his new political party is expected to do very well and challenge the established political parties in Mozambique. So that is Venanzio Mondlane, a man to watch. He is the Chamisa of Mozambique right now. So many people are very excited about this man. Let's see how he does. Venanzio Mondlane, he is previously of Renamo, and he left around June to form his own political party. So we're watching that tomorrow, the Mozambican election. Very interesting. And we're going to see what happens here. So let's watch this young man in Mozambique. If the young people in the country of Mozambique are now taking charge for the first time, all the candidates in the Mozambique elections are coming from, especially the Frelimo candidate, is coming from a period after their independence. So very interesting. And let's watch that event in Mozambique. But let me go straight to our headline. So the body of Tshinga Dube has now been taken around. People have had body viewing, and it's now in Harare. That's my understanding, at least. And he's going to be buried tomorrow at the National Heroes Acre. Fireworks are expected here as the two factions of ZANU-PF start to jostle with each other for control. So there is a massive infighting, especially among the military factions. So the military factions jostling, trying to find where they should belong. So generals are trying to line up behind the correct person. And this is yet another opportunity for us to see on public display all this happening in front of our eyes. Watch very closely what happens during the burial of Tshinga Dube, Colonel Tshinga Dube, tomorrow. ZANU-PF is in a crisis, and the crisis starts at the bottom all the way up to the top. There is a realignment taking place, and Mnangagwa is losing control of ZANU-PF. Mnangagwa no longer fully in control as Chiwenga faction gets stronger and stronger. So what I'm saying here is what is happening on the ground. The Chiwenga faction is getting very strong, and the military figures are lining up behind Chiwenga. Tshinga Dube was originally behind Mnangagwa, but he later on moved to the Chiwenga side. I do not know what they disagreed about, but eventually he ended up on the Chiwenga side. I think it's something to do with the ED 2030. It has annoyed a lot of people. The attempt to create a dynasty and also the attempt to extend Mnangagwa's rule has pushed a lot of generals onto the Chiwenga side. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Very interesting, and we're going to be watching it here. And also, if there's anything important, I'll show it to you. I'll broadcast during that time. Then another event of the day is the TV lottery of the United States of America. So please go and watch this video here. This young lady is called Rumbi. She won a TV lottery of Zimbabwe, of the United States. She's a Zimbabwean. She's now in New York. If you watch this video, you're going to see more detail. It's on the Nafula Connect. Today is the last day of TV lottery. In fact, it's only a few hours before they close. So if you want to apply for TV lottery or a green card, you should go over here, watch this video, but make sure that you got your photo correct. I usually apply to this thing, but I've never, I do not know why, I've never won a TV lottery before in my whole life. Like, Maybe it's my first, but I don't win these things or the lotteries. Then, as I said, a green card is something that is very good, but you must consider the costs. Zimbabwe is the best country to live. In terms of cost of living, guys who are in the United States, they know what I'm talking about. You have to work 10 times harder to live the same way you live in Zimbabwe. Guys in the UK, you know what I'm talking about. With the $1,000 in Zimbabwe, you can do 10 times the things you can do when you're in the UK, when you're in the United States. Life is very difficult if you are in those countries. So when you decide to go to the United States, when you decide to go to the UK, you must adopt a new attitude. You cannot continue with the laid-back attitude of Zimbabwe. You must also be willing to take extra jobs, 2 or 3 jobs, which is crazy. If you're from Zimbabwe, you eventually think of going back home. So let's go to Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa has received a panel van from BYD. That is a gift to himself for his farm. So Mnangagwa is going to be using this at his Precab farm. BYD is a Chinese company that is donated to Mnangagwa through their local branch. BYD has the only electrical cars that are currently operating in Zimbabwe. And that is amazing. I like electrical cars, but they're just too expensive here in South Africa. However, in Zimbabwe, I've seen them quite a number of times. I've ridden in one before. Then I want to go to a very sad story. In South Africa, there is a massive trending story today. It's in all the newspapers. And this is the death of these children. So 5 children have died in Naledi, Soweto. And they all died at the same time. And no one knows what happened, what they ate. So these children were playing together outside. And then they all ran home, complaining of hunger and thirst to their parents. And within 10 minutes, they're all dead. What happened is there is a suspicion because one of the children said he ate snakes. But one thing in common among all these children is they did not want to say what had happened. So out of these 5 children, the only child that spoke is the one that said he ate snakes. They do not know where the snakes came from. Snakes as a snake, not a snake, a snake like chips. And it's not clear what has happened here. One child has survived, is in hospital and can't speak. And they are waiting for that child to wake up so that they understand what has happened. A massive story and very sad. The death of children taking place all over, and it's not clear what is going on. Then still in South Africa, the MK party of Jacob Zuma has gone back to court seeking a rerun of the 29 May election. They now have enough evidence that the capturing and collation of election results was not done correctly. And also there was the 2 hours when there was no electricity. And they're saying that the systems used by the IEC are not okay. There's something wrong with those systems. And they found an expert, and that expert is going to witness that the IEC systems were tampered with and the elections that were announced were wrong. They want a rerun within 90 days. So if Jacob Zuma has his way, the South African election will be rerun within 90 days. And the testimony is being given by Vusi Mhlongo, an executive at the Moses Kotane Institute. He's an IT specialist and a system specialist. And he's saying that he's got evidence that the IEC systems have been compromised and whatever they're producing as a result is not correct. So let's hear the ruling that is going to come from the court. The IEC is going to go and challenge or defend themselves regarding that challenge, that electoral challenge by the MK party. Very important to see what happens in South Africa. Everyone is denying these elections. Then I want to also go into Sandton. Sandton is the biggest or best suburb in Johannesburg, at least by international standards, the richest square mile in Africa. So what has happened is that the ANC and other political parties, which are in the Joburg City Council, have been renaming roads. So last year, they renamed William Nicol to Winnie Mandela. And now they want to rename Santon Drive after someone else whose name I will not mention. There are certain names I don't mention here, certain organizations that I don't mention. So this has brought so much strife within the city because of the kind of character that they want to rename that road after. And people say they cannot rename a road after someone who is a terrorist. And that is the thing, the problem. You can go and check it out. They're trying to rename Santon Drive after someone very controversial. And people have got up to the 15th of October to oppose that renaming. And it's going to totally change the complexion of the city of Santon or of Santon, because the street that they want to rename is right next to the embassy of the United States. So that is the problem. It's going to be a big problem. That whole situation is going to be not so cool. If that happens, it means the embassy will be right next to a street that is renamed after a terrorist. That is crazy. And that is the situation right now, which is causing all this commotion. It's commotion, I tell you. This is not going to go well. No one loves what is happening in terms of that renaming, and it's controversial. Then I want to go to a missing person. This is sad because this lady has passed away. So there's a young lady who went missing in Mushokunze. So she is Stella Chidzenga. She went missing, as you can see there, on the 7th of September 2024, around 10 a.m. And she was coming from seeing a doctor. She then called her child, a 20-year-old, and said she should wait for her at the local shopping center. However, she did not arrive. So that is from the 7th of September during the school holidays. And then you can see now we're on the 7th of October. That is a full month. A body was found in Gutu. Gutu is a whole 300 kilometers away. And when it was found, the body was found by a herdman, a young boy. And he told his father that he's found the body. They went there where the body was, and they covered the body with the leaves, with the branches and leaves. Then they went to make a police report. On their return with the police, they found the body gone. And they started to search for it. Everyone started looking for that body. Eventually, they went away home. And then the next day, they came back. They found the body nearby, but now with some missing body parts. And this situation is unclear what has happened here, but people suspect that there is some sort of rituals that were performed on the body. That is why it ended up where it was. A postmortem is going to be taken, or is going to be carried out. So watch this very, very closely. This is in the H Metro newspaper also. You can go and find more details here. I can see that she's got a Star FM t-shirt there on the last picture. So I don't know what that is all about. But you can see a Star FM t-shirt there on the right, on the last picture. She's quite someone of an older age. Probably I would put it at around 40 or somewhere there. And she was from Morgan Zintec College, from the article in the H Metro newspaper. So very crazy situation. I don't know what has happened here, but this is something to watch. Then in terms of Starlink, Aura is now advertising. If you go to the Herald newspaper, you see that Aura is now advertising cooperative enterprise. It seems like no one is yet selling the home or the home market. And I don't know why that is the case. So I think it's something to do with a disagreement on who's got the ability to sell and who is licensed over there and what they're licensed to do. So if you want to buy the corporate, you can go to Aura and they will sell it to you. The contact details are there on that screen, auragroup.co.zw, and I'm going to put this advert for you on Gambakwe. So free advert for Aura. I'm giving you guys free advertisements. And then in Bulawayo, I'm showing you here this woman who's featured in the Chronicle newspaper. So this is a woman who is talking about the experience with the breast cancer. She said she had stage 4 breast cancer in 2017. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, and she has survived the cancer after chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So that is more than 7 years ago when she got diagnosed. She's gone through the treatment, and she is very, very lucky. And they also did a mastectomy, which is the removal of the breast. So what you have to understand about chemotherapy and radiotherapy is that's a very dangerous procedure because it takes a toll on your body. If you want to see what I'm talking about, just go by the cancer unit at Parinyatwa. Already right now, the women are there and they go through a lot. When they finish that treatment, they can barely walk, and most of them are just lying there outside. And the biggest danger in Zimbabwe is that some of the chemicals in use are not correct. So the quality of those chemicals. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, make sure you insist on the correct chemicals, the correct procedures, get the right advice. This thing is big, especially if you're a woman. You need to know how to inspect for lumps on your breast. When I was just starting to work, I think that was in 2001, my grandmother got breast cancer. And that thing, it pops out. You just see it. It comes out of your body. It's almost unmistakable. And people start by trying to go to all the sorts of traditional healers and all that. And the longer you delay, the more it spreads. And cancer eventually gets into your lungs and gets into your spinal cord. So she's talking here. This is the lady I'm talking about, Mrs. Pamizai Taka. Says the cancer had gotten to her lungs, it had gotten to her spinal cord, and the one that is in the spinal cord is actually still there. So don't let it get to that stage. Learn how to do the inspections. If you're a woman, any lump, you go to the doctor, and don't be afraid to get your breast removed. If you get cancer, it's better to just get it removed than to keep it, because that thing is very painful and it's very, very difficult to deal with once it spreads out. So I think I just wanted to make that clear, and I think this is an important feature here. And the lady here is very, very lucky because, according to research, most of the people who go through this treatment, they really make it above a certain time, less like 5 years. So it's important for people to understand these diseases. These are not lifestyle diseases. This is a disease that most times is genetic. So if your parents got it, and she said a family member has got it, you have to be extra careful. You also must be extra careful what you eat, and starting by not eating continuously. Also, treat things like diabetes and high blood pressure, because they also cause. So if you get diabetes and high blood pressure, it increases your chance of getting cancer at a later stage. And for the guys, it's prostate cancer and testicular cancer, the biggest cancers. So prostate, every year, if you're in South Africa, you go to Discam, there's a test there just for 300 rands. They will tell you if you've got prostate inside your body, prostate cancer. They do a test for you, a blood test. And I've shown you guys in the past when I was doing this test at the Discam. And the last time I went, they lost my blood. That was crazy, man. I went over there looking for my results, and somehow they lost my blood. So these things happen. Then in terms of tenders, there is a house for rent from Red Cross. You can go check it out in Avondale. And then the UNHCR is looking for delivery of sanitary pads and multi-purpose washing soap, and also transportation of firewood. So if you want to see that advert, I'll put it on Gambakwe if you're offering those services. So now let's recap. We said massive, the Chamisa of Mozambique, Venanzio Mondlane, meant to watch tomorrow. This is the youngest candidate in Mozambique election. He's a former banker, and everyone is looking at him to see if he does well. However, he is going up against Frelimo, the most powerful machine at rigging. So when I talk of rigging, currently there are 1.2 million ghost voters on the Mozambique voters roll. What do I mean when I say ghost voters? It means when your whole ward has got 1,000 people, there are 1,200 registered people on the voters roll. That is ghost voters. That is what is happening in Mozambique right now as we speak. But young men here has ignited the youngsters. Young banker, former Renamo, is now formed his own political party. I think it's Fedamo or Fedemo. I don't know how to pronounce that thing. But he is ignited the whole Mozambique, the Chamisa of Mozambique, Venanzio Mondlane. And people are watching to see what happens. This is the beginning of a new thing in Mozambique. What you need in Mozambique is a powerful army and a progressive government. So if you have a powerful army, you protect that massive wealth that Mozambique has got, that massive coastline, and all that oil and gas that is there in Mozambique, the minerals. This country can become amazing. Zimbabwe is surrounded by some of the biggest mineral deposits in South Africa, in Mozambique, and in Zimbabwe itself. So this is also good for Zimbabwe if Mozambique gets a strong president who is able to run that country well. So that is part of it, but we are watching tomorrow's burial of Tshinga Dube. That burial is going to be significant. And you saw what happened already at Highlanders this weekend. I can see this is connected. People are just coming out in large numbers. So this weekend, you saw the rebellion at Highlanders, where a massive number of people came out and gathered at the Highlanders clubhouse and did not go to the stadium. So the spirit of Tshinga Dube is already causing a lot, but you're going to see more tomorrow when they bury him at the National Heroes Acre. So I want to end here. And as I said, we've got a massive announcement coming at the end of this month. Amazing stuff. So let's watch what happens during the burial of Tshinga Dube. Mnangagwa losing power and losing influence as the economy continues to collapse, and the ZIG is now no longer a currency. No one is transacting the ZIG for anything meaningful. It's now just being used when someone doesn't want to use their own money, they use the ZIG. So there is going to be an action. There's going to be a reaction. There is going to be a move. And the only guys that are ready to move right now are the guys in the military. So what you should be watching is what the generals do and how Mnangagwa reacts to those actions by the general. So I'd like to thank all of you for watching. I'll see you again in the evening, 10 minutes past 9 every day. And a good day to you all.